Hi there, I'm going to do some videos on accessories, and I've put them into three categories. The first of the categories is essential. Now these are the sort of accessories that you really shouldn't go motorhoming without, and it'll make your life a misery if you don't have them. And I know because we've done that a couple of times. An example is water hose. If you went without water hose, you might not be able to fill up your water tanks, and I think you'll be forever carrying water in little containers. So that would be an essential accessory. The second category is recommended. These are things I think you should have, but it wouldn't be a disaster if you didn't have them. The third category is nice to have. These are the things I like having, like the Tassimo, for instance, making a coffee, and that's going to be the third video. So three videos: essentials, recommended, and nice to have. So the first category is essential. So the first essential is a 240 volt cable, and this one is on a reel, and that makes it a bit easier to put away. But you need to be looking for a cable with one of these connectors. That's the bit that goes in the motorhome, and that's the bit that goes in the bollard. These you'll find all over Europe. Obviously in the UK you'll find them at most campsites. So if you get one that's got these connectors, you should be doing all right. I've got it on a cable reel, like I say. That's not essential. The one thing I would say is, if you've got it on a cable reel and you've got it plugged in, please don't leave it rolled up on the cable reel. Take it all off the reel and make sure that it's not sort of wound up. When it's wound up and you're using a lot of electricity, perhaps like in the winter, you might have a fire on or something, that can generate a lot of heat, and there have been cases where it's actually melted. So don't do that. The next one is a hose pipe. You're going to need a hose pipe at some stage to fill up your water tanks. Particularly, obviously, most motorhomes have got onboard water tanks, so you're going to need to fill those up. This is a food grade hose, and it's made by the people who make the Aqua Roll. It came as a mains adapter for the Aqua Roll. The Aqua Roll's not on my essential list, but it was just a very good hose. I did have a flat hose, one of these hoses that came as a flat thing that rolls up very fine. This does the job much better. It fills up quicker, and it's always long enough. I mean, you don't have to get the motorhome too close to the tap, but this does the job excellently. I've got hose lock connectors, those sort of things that you see on your garden hose, and they make the life so much simpler. And with it, this is not really an essential, but I've got one of these adapters. It's called a HEO solution, and all it does is it plugs into the outside of the water adapter, and you put the hose lock on the end there, and it just keeps it in place. If you've just got an empty end on the hose, that's fine, as long as you don't mind standing there and someone else can switch the tap off when the tank's full. You normally end up getting it all over your feet, but there you go. Right, for the little room, for the toilet. So you know what we're talking about. I've got this stuff that I got at the Harrogate show about a year ago, and it's called Toilet Blue, and it's a concentrated toilet additive. There's loads on the market. This has lasted a whole year. You only use a tiny bit of it. I'd highly recommend it. The only thing I would say is don't get it on your hands. It just stains everything. It's got to be really careful. It's got a dispenser at the top. Squeeze a bottle, and I put about 10 millilitres in there. It lasts for ages. Now this toilet doesn't have, some motorhomes have a separate flush tank, but this doesn't have a separate flush tank. It's simply off that button there, that's the flush, and it comes off the mains tank. Sounds unhygienic, but what I use is this pink spray, and I just give it a little spray before you flush it. And it just keeps it smelling nice, basically, and makes, well, how can I put this? It makes it easier to go down. You're going to need a spanner for your gas bottle. If you've got refillable bottles, then you won't need this. But if you've got exchangeable Calagas bottles, you're going to need a spanner. It doesn't have to be an adjustable one like this. This is just handy to have around because it's adjustable. You can get gas bottle spanners in any sort of Caravan, Motorhome, spares shop, accessory, or you can see them online. Just look for gas bottle spanners. 30mm, that's what they are. It says on here it's got a little setting, and you probably can't see that on the GoPro. These are grip mats, and what they're useful for is if you're on a grassy field and you've not got very good traction, you put these under the wheels and it'll help you get off the grass. They're not much use for heavy mud or anything like that. I've seen some, what would you call them? I've seen some grip mats that are more designed for 4x4s, and if you plan on going off-road with your motorhome, you probably need something a bit more substantial than these. I think I've used them a couple of times. I think they've got a little bit worn there, but it definitely is worth investing in some decent quality grip mats. These are Fiamma ones. I don't think they're very particularly expensive, but they can be a godsend, like I say, particularly on wet grassy fields. Right, these are something we use quite a lot. These are levelling chocks. These are Fiamma ones. I think they're called, it's worn off now, called the Fiamma Jumbo size, and they're quite, you can see from my hand, they're quite tall. I've seen others that are only probably about half this height. Why do you need them? Well, if you ever park your motorhome on anywhere that's not very level and you want to be level, then you're going to need some of these. Some people are not bothered. I'd rather have this is a bit of OCD or something, but I'd rather be level than not. They won't correct all situations. Sometimes you have to use them on different wheels or whatever, but these are really substantial ones. They're nice and wide. So you can see from my hand, they must be 6-7 inches wide, and your wheels fit on there nicely. And I've had these, I must have had these 10 years at least, if not more. They've been really good. Essential. It's actually quite hard to show you, but this is a what's called a clutch claw. It clamps the brake and the clutch together. It's a solid, oops, it's a solid piece of metal, and I think this is essential. Some form of security like this, either that or one of those discs that clamp on your steering wheel. Some form of physical security. These are the components of the clutch claw. So you've got it's a pretty hefty, you see, pretty hefty piece of ironwork with these legs. And what happens is, I'm probably going to struggle to do this one-handed, is that goes in there. Your pedals go in there. Brake and clutch. That bit goes against the bulkhead. So I've seen pictures of thieves who've tried to remove these and they've failed. I think this is one of the best bits of security kit there is. The other bit of security kit is a bit I can't show you, and that's the tracker. I've got a tracker fitted to this, so if the motorhome does get stolen, we can follow it and we can track it down. So some form of tracker. I'm not going to recommend any particular one. There are several available, some that link into an alarm system as well, and they will be very good. So think about some form of invisible security as well as a visible form of security. You don't want your motorhome to be stolen. It probably goes without saying, you're going to need some pots and pans. We tend to only have two smaller pans. We've got a frying pan, and we've also got a thing called a Ridgemonkey. I'll show you in a second. probably all you need for cooking, to be honest. We've got a grill and oven. Hardly ever use the grill. Fairly big oven, but you can probably get away with one of these. This thing at the front here is called a Ridgemonkey, and it's got these accessories that come with it. They fit inside, and what it is a double-sided frying pan, so you can do your frying in there. You can make toasties with it, cook vegetables, and it is a really good bit of kit. I've actually got two of these. We've got one indoors and one outdoors. Yeah, you're going to need cutlery, knives and forks, spoons, that sort of things that you would need at home. You don't need as much. We've only got four knives and 4 forks. Cheese knife, that's essential. You're going to need crockery. We've got these melamine plates. I've had them for 10 years or so. Oh, they're very light, hard to break. We've got these, you'll see these everywhere, the blooming wine glasses. Very light. Again, you can't break them. Melamine cups. Need a pint glass as well. It tends to get stuffed in this locker. What I normally do when we're travelling is I stuff a cushion in there to stop them rattling. We've got one of these little cupboards. It's a little thing with a elasticated to hold it in place for your wine glasses. You've probably got too many, but you do have to think about when you have guests come round. 6 cups and glasses is probably enough, but yeah, it's not just you you're going to feed sometimes. Fire blanket, I think this is essential. It will put out any fat fires. You just put it over the cooker. You never know when you're going to need it. Fortunately, never used it, but you never know. Also, fire extinguisher. And these have an expiry date as well, so it's worth always checking the expiry date on these. This is a powder one. Fire extinguisher, again, never used it. Hope I never have to. Probably the most important part of the motorhome, for me anyway, is bedding and the bed. I've got a whole video on our bedding. We've got these duvet things. They are very comfortable. It's a mattress topper built into like a half sleeping bag, and it's on top of a mattress. Don't buy the bedding from the motorhome manufacturer or dealer. Normally it's very cheap stuff, unless it's part of the package, of course. You can't avoid it. We bought some from Bailey when we got the Bailey, and it was just rubbish. Buy your own, decent quality. It's well worth investing in something that's good and is going to look after you, because you want to get a good night's sleep. A toolkit. I think a toolkit's essential. I've got one of these things you can get from Halfords. It's only a cheap thing. It's just in a fold-up wallet. I've added a few sort of spanners in there. It's got, you know, tape and adjustable spanner, torch, screwdriver bits, sockets. It's not very expensive, but you never know. I mean, I tend to use this for doing up. You always find loose screws in motorhomes. I don't know why. I seem to spend the first few years tightening screws up. So a good screwdriver. But yeah, have a little kit, just something you get from Halfords, and you can stick it in a locker, and it's there when you need it. It's a spare bulb kit. It comes with a headlamp bulb, assuming you haven't got LED headlights, indicator bulbs and that sort of thing. Again, that's Halfords, just cheap. A few essential fuses. I've got a whole host of fuses somewhere else, but you might need that at some stage. It's also worth pointing out that your electricity unit, get it open, has fuses just like that in there, so if any of the domestic fuses go, you can use those fuses. Now, this is one of those going abroad kits that you can get. fact, sound like a plug for Halford, but again, this come from Halford's. And it's got a high-vis jacket. It's useful if you break down. It's got a travel kit, first aid kit. Never used it. Got a bigger first aid kit in the bathroom, but I would suggest you have a first aid kit. And it's got one of these warning triangles, so if you do break down on the motorway, you can stick this back a few hundred yards. It recommends, but it's a fold-out emergency warning triangle. It's a warning triangle. What else has it got in there? It's got an adapter for if you ever come across foreign pin plug adapter. One of these breathalyzer kits that you need in France. It is a going away a foreign travel kit, but it's worth having simply for the high-vis jacket and the warning triangle, and probably the first aid kit if you haven't already got one. I'd get a decent first aid kit as well. Most motorhomes come with a smoke alarm. This is a gas detector as well, so make sure you've got those. Here's a head torch. Most campsites at night are pretty dark, and a good head torch is absolutely essential. Oh, it is bright, that one. This is a Petzl, and it's been brilliant. It's really, really bright and absolutely does the job. Right, last on my list is a spare pair of glasses. These are my previous glasses. The prescription's about the same, but the number of times that I've broken my glasses or screws fallen out of something, I think it's a really good idea to have a spare pair of glasses. So that's it for this video. If you like what you see, give us a thumbs up. Remember to subscribe, hit the notifications bell icon so you'll get regular updates, and please share the videos if you think it will be of some use to someone else. So I'll see you soon.